Hi, I'm Paul. Welcome to my messy workshop. Today I've got kind of a simple project. I want to build this shelf. And it can be as simple as you want to make it. You can make it with a butt joint right here. You could make it with a dado. In my case, I decided to make it with a sliding dovetail. The reason I did that is I've never made a sliding dovetail. And so it's kind of a learning experience for me. Follow along and we'll go ahead and we'll make this. Well, we're going to start out with a couple pieces of pine. They measure 10.5 by 6.5. They're both the same. That's just the rough size. The first thing I'm going to do is find the center of this board, which would be 5.25, and mark that on one of the faces. And then continue it around the rest of the board. This is where I'm going to put the dovetail. And like I said, this is just a simple shelf, but I want to step it up just a little bit and have a sliding dovetail. Have the bottom piece go on in a sliding dovetail. I've never done that before, so it's a learning experience, but that's what woodworking is all about, is learning how to do new things. Right now what I have is I have a 1/4 inch straight cutting bit in the router. That's set to not quite the full depth of the dovetail. And the reason I've got that bit in there is I'm going to hog out most of the wood in the dovetail with a straight cutting bit and then come back and cut my dovetail. I have a stop block set up because it's going to be a stopped dovetail. I have a push block to help keep the board straight. And all I'm going to do now is start the router, push my board through until I hit the stop block and end my cut. Okay, there's the start of my dovetail. So now what I'll do is I'll unplug the router, I'll switch bits, and then I'll come back when I cut the dovetail. I've switched over to my dovetail bit. I have it adjusted to the right height. Now, you may notice that I'm cutting this dovetail in the blank piece of wood. I don't have any other thing done to it. And the reason I'm doing that is it's easier to cut a dovetail when I have nice square edges. So I'll get my dovetail cut. I'll cut the matching dovetail in the piece that's going to slide into it. And then I'll do the layout for my shelf and the bottom of it, just to this step just makes it a whole lot easier. Plug my router in. And there's my dovetail slot cut. Now what I'm going to do is move the fence in closer so that I can cut the dovetail that goes in that slot. So as soon as I get my setup made, I'll be right back. What I did, I left my dovetail bit at the same height. I didn't change it. I brought my fence forward and I took a piece of scrap that's the same thickness as the piece I'm going to cut my dovetail on, and I ran it through, and I kept bringing the fence pushing the fence back until my dovetail on my scrap would slide into the dovetail on my board. So now I know that that dovetail is the right size. So I'm going to put my board through on its end, and I'm going to cut the dovetail on this board. And again, this is the rough size of the board, and I'm cutting the dovetail on the end now because it's easier. And with a little bit of sanding, that dovetail will fit just right. I might need to loosen it up just a little bit. It's a little tighter than I like. But so what I'll do is I'll knock that fence back just a tad and run this through again just to clean it up. But that's how I did it. Now I have my dovetail fit the way I want it. This board is now too wide, so what I'm going to do is mark it right at the end of the dovetail, and I'll rip this board down so that this little piece isn't there anymore. And then this will be sized right for my shelf. Now I just drew a rough pattern on here, and we're going to cut that out, and then after it's cut out we'll take it over to the oscillating spindle and belt sander, and we'll clean it up. There's a rough cutout, and we'll define it more in just a second. Now we'll cut a design on the bottom piece, on the bottom piece. I've put a trim bit in my router. I've adjusted the height. I'm going to run that around this outside edge and the front edge of my base. Now you can see how that came out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand part of this upper lip off so that it's not quite so pronounced there. But I'll just sand that down a little bit, sand the front, sand the sides, and get it ready to glue up. Well, it's time to glue it up. It's all sanded, ready to go. There we go, we're all glued up. I'll wait for the glue to dry and then we'll put a coat of paint on it. This is pine, so I decided to paint it. Well, that was a fun and pretty easy project. I'm real happy with the way my sliding dovetail came out. I think I'll use that joinery technique on other projects. The finish I put on this was a couple coats of latex enamel, and after that I sprayed it with spray lacquer. And the reason I spray it with spray lacquer is the latex enamel has kind of a waxy, plasticky feeling, and I don't really like that. So by spraying it with spray lacquer, I get a nice, hard, smooth finish. I do that on almost all of my painted projects. Well, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you would. If you have, thank you very much. I'd appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to leave a comment, I try and return all my comments. And if you'd like, you can share my channel. If you'd like to contact me, my email address is right here. It's paulsmessyworkshop@gmail.com. And again, thanks so much for watching my video.